Are you a policymaker? Are you looking for new solutions in your region? Are you interested in learning from other European regions facing similar challenges?
With Interreg Europe, you can develop your interregional cooperation project and get co-financing from the European Union. You can team up with other regions in Europe, exchange your experience and improve your regional development policies.
At Interreg Europe, we help regions from across Europe to develop and deliver better policies by sharing solutions. You can work on any topic of the EU policy agenda by making Europe greener, smarter, more social, better connected, better governed, or closer to citizens.
Our first call of project proposals will open on the 5th of April and close on the 31st of May. At midday, hurry up and get ready to submit your application.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to a Q&A session on Interreg Europe's first call for project proposals. In the next 60 minutes or so, we're going to be going through your questions about the call, answering them. I'm Mia. I will be the moderator of this session, and I'm here together with my two colleagues, Verena and Vincenzo, who will provide some answers to your questions. So we've got both our project and the finance team represented. We have received quite a few questions already before this session. Thank you very much for those. You can still keep sharing more. We're going to be using Slido to collect those questions during this session. You can access Slido directly from Slido with the hashtag #firstcallquestions or by scanning the QR code that you see on your screen right now. You also have a direct link to Slido in the chat. So go there, post your question. We will start going through them very, very shortly. I also have some of my colleagues helping us out behind the scenes. So Petra and Josephine will also help us out with the tool itself and post some links in the chat. So keep an eye on the chat for useful links, post your questions in Slido, and let's get you ready for the call. Before we dive into the questions, I have a very quick, short introductory poll because we want to get a little sense of who's here with us today. I see that there's 44 people so far and more are joining, so happy to have you as a part of this session. This is our second session of these Q&As. Let's launch our poll and see who is here. Let's see what kind of experience you have with Interreg Europe. We would just like to know if you've already been in one of our projects, or if you've applied before, but maybe your project was not approved, or if you're really new to the program and you haven't applied before. This will sort of help us then to set the level for answering the questions as well and see a little bit where you're coming from. I see the answers are coming in, so do take a moment to take your preferred answer and let us know how much experience you have with Interreg Europe. And here again, I do want to specify that we are going to be talking about Interreg Europe specifically, not about Interreg in general. So we are talking about Interreg Europe and our very first call in the 2021-2027 period. I see that you have answered and given us some input. So why don't we close the poll and have a quick look at the results? There are, well, I see a very nice split of people. There's quite a few, 40% who have already been in a project, so they have quite a bit of knowledge of how the program works. Also some 10% or so who have applied but haven't really been in a project, and about 48%, almost half of you, complete newcomers. So welcome, very good mix. And as we start going into the answers, if you want to share some of your experiences or add to some of the remarks as we're going through the questions, feel free to pop that in the chat as well. But as said, it's time to move over to the questions and answers, which is the main focus of today. So let's head over to Slido and have a look at the first questions that we've received. We're going to start with the pre-submitted questions. We got quite a few in advance, and then we'll keep going through the ones that you are submitting today. So feel free to post them anytime. We'll go through them more or less in order and give you the answers that you are looking for. So Verena and Vincenzo, I hope you're ready because let's go into the first question. We have a question here from Thea. She's asking if the same partners, if there's 5 out of 7 that have already been in a project, can the same partners continue collaboration in a new project, working on a similar policy or specific objective, but maybe a different topic? Would this be an issue for an application? Maybe Verena, over to you with this one.
Right. Okay. Thanks for this question. Thanks for the introduction, Mia. Hello, Thea, and hello, everyone. Yeah, interesting question. Can the same partner, 5 out of 7, participate again in a new project? I'd be rather careful here because, you know, we have what we call the innovative character, and it's very important that you can demonstrate this innovative character of your project, meaning that there is something new compared to the previous project. And if you come back with 5 out of 7 partners and you work under, well, a similar or the same policy objective, it might be like, let's say, a little bit tricky to demonstrate the innovative character. So I'd be rather careful here because, yeah, we want some fundamental, let's say, new elements in the project. So I would invite you to maybe open up a little bit the partnership in this case and look for new partners.
Indeed, a new program, a new chance to look into something new. And this question keeps coming up quite often. So it's good that we covered that as the very first one. Then, knowing that we do have quite a few newcomers here with us today, maybe some tips for those who are planning to apply for the very first time. Verena, I'll let you continue, and maybe Vincenzo, if you have anything to add afterwards, you're welcome to chip in. But
yeah, totally, Sonia. Welcome to the session. You did well to connect. So that would be my main advice. Honestly, make use of the resources that we make available. So first of all, these online question and answer sessions. There will also be a webinar next week with, let's say, more focus on different aspects of the project development stage. We have also a lot of resources online on our website. First of all, and well, really important is the program manual. So if you didn't check it yet, I would invite you to download it on our website. Maybe the colleagues can put the link in the chat. Have a look. It's quite, I mean, it's a quite long document, but you should really, I mean, maybe not read it from A to Z, but give a close look. There's a lot of information there that is important for you to know if you want to apply. What else? We had run already a lot of info events, also in different countries. Some of those are, let's say, the resources and the recordings are available online. We also had the Europe Let's Cooperate event earlier this month, so you can also check the recording of this. If you have a project idea that is a little bit more mature, you can also send it to us for feedback on your specific project idea. So there's a lot of things to do. You can also get in touch with, let's say, country representatives from your country, so the national point of contact, and of course also try to exchange with maybe a lead partner from your region or from your country to hear about their experience. That would be my advice.
yeah, there's already quite a few things, and a lot of the things that Verena just mentioned, the recordings of past events, the support available on our website, we have links to all of those in the chat. So have a look at the chat for those links. Vincenzo, anything you want to add? Any tips for newcomers?
No, nothing to add. Verena was really exhaustive on this. So yeah, my suggestion would just be to look at the tools that are available on the website, as was just mentioned, and there you can find different resources like to help you applying for the call.
All right, perfect. A quick reminder, I see that there's more than 50 people in the session now. We are indeed being recorded, and this is the second Q&A that we're doing. The first recording is already available. This one will be available shortly after this session. So you can, of course, also go back to these sessions and see what kind of questions have been asked and what kind of answers we've provided. So keeping track of our website is a good way to access all of this information. That being said, moving on to the next question. This one is from Rita. If there is an advisory partner in a project, is it possible to give a task to this partner, like someone who's responsible for the exchange of experience or developing a methodology for the whole partnership on the specific topic of the project? Verena, this one goes again to you.
Yes, thanks. Rita, yes, totally. I mean, it's even the very nature of the advisory partner that they have a specific task in the project. So if a partner comes into the consortium as an advisory partner, in the application form, you will have to describe their role in the project. And yes, we would expect that you can describe it, let's say, very specifically. It could be related, let's say, maybe more to the communication of the project, but it could also be some content expertise, but it could also be, let's say, more on the methodological side to support the learning process. But yes, for sure, an advisory partner must have a specific task in the project, and it should be described in the application form. Yes.
All right, excellent. We're making good progress here. Time to bring in Vincenzo again into the discussion because we have a finance-related question next. This one comes from Cecilia, and it's about the budget limits. Is the limit for eligible budget 2 million euros, or is there maybe a lower threshold? What would you comment on this?
Thanks a lot, Mia, and thanks a lot, Cecilia, for this question. The important thing to take into account when it comes to the budget is that the budget should always be based on the activities planned and on the partners involved. There are, of course, also other factors, but I would say that those two are probably like the most important one when it comes to the overall magnitude of the total budget of the project. From our experience, projects financed by our program, they have a budget of approximately between 1 million and 2 million euros. But then, of course, depending on the partnership, it might be even lower, meaning that, for example, if the partnership is a small partnership, then the budget might even be lower than that. So there is not a lower threshold, if I understand the point of the question right.
Verena, is there something you maybe want to add here, or you're ready for the next one? All right, good. I hope this clarifies. Indeed, it is, since we do have colleagues from both of our teams that will be going through your applications once the time to submit them comes, make use of the opportunity. If you have a finance-related question, post that in Slido. If you want to ask about how the project should be prepared, what should be taken into consideration, let us know, and we'll keep going through it. Verena, you're already ready for the next one, so here it comes. This one is a bit more conceptual, let's say. A question from Montserrat. What is an investment for jobs and growth program? This is more the newcomer type of question. Can you maybe comment a little bit on this? Where to find examples of the types of programs to address, and how this should be implemented in the how it should be addressed in the project context?
Yes, okay, thanks. That's actually several questions into one. Let's go step by step. So first of all, what is an investment for jobs and growth program? So this is a notion that comes from the regulation from the European Commission. If you want to check out in the Common Provisions Regulation, you can see that this is related to the programs that support the cohesion policy, and they are being financed through ERDF, but also through other funds, the ESF Plus, so the European Social Fund, the Cohesion Fund, and the Just Transition Fund. So these are the funds that support the investment for jobs and growth goal, and all those programs are, let's say, considered as jobs and growth programs, and are relevant for Interreg Europe. So where can you find examples of those programs? So I think you can find a full list of operational programs from the 2014-2020 period on the website of the DG Regio, so of the European Commission, DG Regio. For the new generation of programs, so for the period 2021-2027, I think the list is not yet ready for the simple fact that the programs are still under finalization in some countries. Nevertheless, you could check already the list from the previous programming period. It will give you a good idea what kind of programs are out there, which are the relevant authorities, and so on. And maybe then you can bring it further from this. You can also, you should also have a look on our website, Interreg Europe website, for two resources. First, you can look into let's say, the project websites to see what are what policy instruments the projects from the previous period addressed, and what kind of policy changes they actually achieved. So there's also a list of examples of successful policy changes. And you can also find on our website a table with, let's say, where we list the operational programs or the investment for jobs and growth programs and the related managing authorities in the different countries. However, also I have to warn you, because this list is not entirely updated yet. But again, I think it gives you already some indications, and depending on your country, maybe it's already updated, or if not, you will find there at least some people that you may want to talk to get further information if you can't find it anywhere else. Yeah, how should the programs be addressed in Interreg Europe? That was, I think, the last part of this question. So yeah, in the application form, you will, like, each partner region will describe the policy instrument that they want to address. And you also should explain a little bit the type of policy improvement that you would like to reach, or that you expect. Basically, there's, let's say, three types of policy improvements. First would be to start new projects, so basically make better use of the funds that are available. Second type of improvement would be to improve the governance or the management of the policy instrument. So maybe the way the decision making is handled, or the way calls for proposals are set up. And the third is really to improve the structure, the content of the policy instrument. So, for instance, maybe add new priorities or new objectives to a given operational program or other kind of policy instrument. So this, let's say, more conceptual part about the policy improvements, you can also find further information and examples in the program manual that is available on the website. So I hope it's clear. If not, feel free to to take the floor again or add new questions on Slido.
Yes, thank you so much, Randa. I think that gave a good overview. And indeed, the program manual is an excellent starting point for an overview on these things. We already shared the link in the chat, but have a look at those links and the other information that we're passing out there as well. Let's stay on the projects for a little while because we have quite a few questions. There's almost 20 questions lined up. So thank you, first of all, for being so very active. We'll keep going through them and just keep posting more. This one is an anonymous one posted right now during the session. Are capacity building activities eligible as a part of the learning process? And if so, are they considered exchange of experience activities? Verena, I'll let you continue with this one.
Thanks. Yeah, totally. So that's pretty much the core business of our project, the core activities. So maybe there's some like maybe it's not entirely clear what's meant by capacity building activities, but yeah, that's what we expect our projects to do. So the exchange of experience or the interregional learning process is usually runs done through different type of activities. So first of all, there's the collection and analysis of good practices. And then very often we see that the projects also start with, let's say, maybe stock taking on their own territory. And then they meet the partners, for instance, in a thematic workshop or in other type of formats. Sometimes it's also online formats. And then later on, when they have already a good idea of what the partners do and what kind of experience they have, they may pick maybe one good practices and to deepen a little bit the analysis and visit this partner for a study visit. Or they could invite, let's say, some partners to come to their own regions for kind of a peer review session, so to get the advice from the partners on the ground. Yeah, so this is, let's say, the typical activities that our projects run and that are eligible as capacity building activities in phase 1 of the project. You can also read further about it in the program manual. There's some examples also what kind of activities the projects expect to do in phase 1.
Excellent. Again, program manual, a very good resource for this. Moving over to budget issues for a little moment. Vincenzo, 2 questions lined up for you. Let's start with the first one. Are partners from Norway eligible for funding at 50% only? And maybe give us a quick reminder on the eligibility and the funding rate.
Yes, of course. So yes, partners from Norway are eligible for funding at 50% only, which means that the funding provided by Norway will be covering 50% of the total budget of the partner, and the rest then should be covered by the partner's own resources through the partner contribution. And then the co-financing rates are actually 80% for public and 70% for private organizations.
All right, very good. Let's stay with the budgets. Is there a budget allocation for each priority?
There is actually a concentration principle, according to which 80% of the budget should be concentrated in 3 priorities: Smarter Europe, Greener Europe, and partially on More Social Europe, while the 20% of the budget of the program should be concentrated on the other ones. But yes, this is an indicative allocation of the resources of the budget of the program with regards to the call. So this is approximately like the allocation of the budget of the program to the different priorities.
Yeah, and of course, being the first call right now is a good moment to apply for any of the priorities. But yes, that kicks in at some point for sure. Let's stay with the co-funding because there seems to be another question. This one is from Melinda. Co-funding. Where can we find the extra funds for the project? You just mentioned that you will need some funding from other sources as well, but where to find them? Any tips?
Okay, thanks a lot. So yes, I understand that then from co-funding and from extra funds, Melinda actually means the co-financing, the partner contribution. So indeed, the program will cover 70% for private organization and 80% for public organization, while the remaining part should be provided by the partners' own resources through their own budget or through other sources. And here, the recommendation that we can give is to check whether in your countries other sources are provided by national contributions. So we will recommend you to check on the program website, get in contact with the representatives from your countries, with the national contact point, to find out whether there is any mechanism for funding the partner contribution that is not financed by the program.
Excellent. Now we're jumping a little bit back and forth, going back to the project content and the activities for a little moment. So Verena, bringing you back in again. An anonymous question: are comparative situation analysis to collect good practices at the beginning of the project eligible as an activity? And if so, would these be considered exchange of experience?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends a little bit on the overall context of the project and on the balance of the different activities you suggest. Also, let's say in terms of budget allocation, if it's proportionate. But I think as such, yeah. Like, I'm not sure what you mean by comparative, to be honest, but I think like an analysis to check and collect the good practices on your own territory, I think that would be could be eligible and useful. Comparative, if it's a study that compares to your own good practices to the one of the partners, well, we need to see, let's say, what's the relevance in the overall context of the project. Maybe that comes a little bit later in the project, or like typically that's also an activity that you would do maybe really together with the partners. So if we're talking about a study that is to be externalized, I'm not entirely sure. Well, it depends a little bit, but as such, I say it's a type of activity that would be relevant. Then how you do it, it's a little bit up to you, and of course you would need to describe and justify in the application form.
Maybe here I can also step in, and because in terms of budget, this also means that Verena was mentioning, for example, if such analyses are carried out by an external provider, we also would like to remind you that the main aim of the program is we are a capacity building program, an exchange of experience program. So this means that the main beneficiaries of the exchange of experience should be the project partners, which means that also like this should be reflected somehow in the allocation of the budget to the different cost categories, so under staff cost and under external expertise and services. So yes, such comparative analysis might be carried out by an external provider, but this should not impact too much the allocation of the budget according to those principles.
Excellent. Thank you both. A very good specification there, Vincenzo, to add. Moving on to a little bit more, let's say, technical perspective, we do have an online portal through which the applications are submitted and where people work on the applications. Will we have a separate session on the portal? I don't know, do you have a comment on this?
For now, it's not planned, and we hope we won't need it. Having said this, yeah, you probably started to work in portal, and maybe you had some questions, or you saw some areas where maybe some features didn't seem entirely intuitive to you. Feel free to ask your questions right now or in the next question and answer session. And maybe I can also spoil some information here. We are constantly working on improving the portal, and new features will be made available soon. And we are also working on, let's say, more guidance to the users. So to really help you to fill in your application form, to guide you right in the application on your screen. Well, to hopefully answer all your questions as they occur. But I mean, if you have specific questions, please feel free also to ask them right now.
We do have another portal question, and if you have any more, today is the perfect day to ask, because Verena happens to be an expert on the portal. So you picked a good Q&A. If you have any portal-related questions, post them right now in Slido. I see that we have a little over 60 people in the session. If you missed the Slido link in the beginning, you can access Slido with slido.com and hashtag #firstcallquestions or through a link in the chat. Maybe Josephine can post a link there again. So another quick portal question. Is there an option to upload deliverables on the portal? And if so, where it can be done? This goes maybe a little bit beyond the pure application stage, but maybe a quick comment on that.
Maybe Vincenzo, you want to take this one?
Yes, yes. Well, what we can say at the current stage is that we are counting on giving the possibility to actually upload the supporting documents for the reporting part. So this may include also deliverables, among the other things, but most likely other kind of supporting documents. So this is as much as we can say at the current stage.
Yeah, and maybe for the application form, there's no possibility, but also no need to upload any attachments. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, except the declaration. Sorry. Yes.
Exactly. Yeah. The only attachment that that will be needed, like for the application form, will be the declarations from the partners and the associated policy authorities.
Good. And indeed, give the portal a try. Just a quick note, the same login works both for our website community, where you can find partners, share project ideas, make use of the other resources, as well as the portal. So by logging into our online resources, you have access to all this information and all the tools that you need to build your project. Staying on the topic of budget for a little bit longer, or going back to it, what kind of budget would be considered adequate for a project that includes 5 countries? Vincenzo, you mentioned kind of a typical budget, but maybe just to give a rough estimate again to Martina's question.
Yes, thanks a lot, Mia, and thanks a lot, Martina, for this question. I will say there is no recommendation with regards to the number of countries, also because the number of countries does not necessarily define how many partners are inside the project partnership and in the project. So because, for example, 5 countries may be represented, but there might be more than one partner representing that same country. So it rather depends, as I was saying before, on the number of partners involved and on the activities that are planned by the project. So the general recommendation will be really to start from the objective that you want to obtain with your projects, then defining what are the activities that you need to carry out in order to achieve those objectives, and then calculating the resources that you need and the cost that you will have to incur and pay for those resources that are needed, and then you will come up with a relevant and well-designed budget for the project. So 5 countries, it might mean like 5 partners or even more. So there is no general recommendation that we can give on that point.
All right, going a little bit beyond budget, but staying on the project consortium and the partners involved, let's continue with Hannah's question on the list. Is there any specific recommendation on the project consortium? What would be the best kind of composition? How many universities? What kind of public authorities, nonprofits? Verena, maybe you want to start with this.
Yes. I mean, what we have to underline here, I think, is the main purpose of the program, Interreg Europe. We are here to help regions to improve or like to develop and deliver better development policies in their territories. And to do this, of course, we mainly address the policymakers. So I think the public authorities. So this is our main target group, and this is, let's say, the kind of organizations we need to see in the projects as partners. Having said this, also other, let's say, organizations that have a role to play in the policy making, in the territorial development, they have also their place in Interreg Europe. So they can also come in as partners, but if they are not responsible for a policy instrument, then they would need the support of the policy responsible authority. So what is the best composition? It really depends very much on the setup, on the situation in your own region and in your partner region. So I think, well, the best composition, like bluntly spoken, is always to have the policymakers as partners on board. But then we know that sometimes this is not possible. So in this case, another partner can represent the territory, and the policy responsible authority comes in as an associated policy authority and signs the declaration to commit, let's say, to the support to the project. So it's really case by case. In every region, you need to see what is the policy instrument you address. Can the policy responsible authority be part of the project or not, like as partner, or can they only come in as a stakeholder? So this is really difficult to advise on a general level. How many universities? Similar, like again, it depends very much on the topic also, I guess, that you're addressing, and the policy instruments you are addressing, if the university is relevant or not. If it's relevant, if the policy relevance of the university can be demonstrated, then of course it can come into the project, and there's no limit. Let's say if it's if all the partners partner region come with the university, if this is relevant in the context of the project, if this fits with the topic and with the policy instruments, then there's no, let's say, there's no limit. And similar for the non-profit bodies. So, as you know, like only like private non-profit bodies can also be eligible to the program. But again, their policy relevance need to be justified. So we need to see what is their, let's say, their legitimacy to work on this policy instrument. What is their role in the policy making process? What is their relationship with the policy responsible authority? So Hannah, this is let's say difficult to advise you right now. If you have already, let's say, a project idea that is quite mature, if you're already in contact with some potential partners, I would invite you to contact us, and through the ask for feedback for your project idea through the website. You can describe a little bit your idea, and then we can one of my colleague or myself, we can give you more tailor-made feedback, really based on the specific information that you provide.
Thank you, Verena, and thanks for reminding also about the feedback option. There is indeed this option through our website. So in addition to sharing your project idea, maybe finding partners, you can also test its relevance. We have a self-assessment tool there for you, as well as a way to contact us to get direct feedback on your proposal if it's mature enough. We will come back to these, but since universities are raising a lot of interest, let's stay with the universities for a little while. Maybe just a quick comment. You covered this already, but in Thomas's question, he's asking if a university can be a lead partner. Is this possible, or does it have to be a policymaking authority?
Yeah, Thomas, I think exactly it links back to the previous question. In principle, university can be lead partner as long as it's a public body or governed by public law, which I think is the case for pretty much all the universities. So in principle, yes. But as always, keep in mind the policy relevance for the university, because in my understanding, a university is usually not a policy responsible authority. So it's really key that that you can demonstrate the policy relevance for this university. And then it can act as lead partner or as regular partner in the project, or it could even come in as advisory partner maybe, which is another case, but there's no restriction as such towards universities being a lead partner.
Good. So plenty of options for universities to be involved. A very practical question, next one from Rachel. And I'm sure this also keeps popping up a lot. So a lot of other people might be interested to know when the projects that will be approved are expected to start. Rough estimate.
Yes, rough estimate would be January 2023. But it depends a little bit also on how the call goes, how many proposals we receive, how long the assessment takes, how long the decision making takes. But for now, we plan with January next year.
All right, excellent. And thanks to all of the participants, you're very active today. We're making good progress, but I don't see the list of questions getting much shorter. We still have about 15 to 20 to go through, as it means that you're posting more as we go along, which is great because that's what we're here for. Let's keep moving. Question from Martina about pilot actions. What kind of actions are funded as pilots? If you want to implement, for example, energy communities, what kind of expenses could be funded as a pilot action?
Maybe I can make an introduction to this one. The cost categories for pilot actions are the same than the general budget of a project, which means that you have staff cost, office administration, travel and accommodation, external expertise and services, equipment, and in addition, for pilot actions, you have also infrastructure and works, meaning that in the current program, we can also co-finance now small infrastructure and works that might be needed in case of a pilot action, which means, for example, labor or constructions materials, building materials, and things like that. Maybe also another piece of recommendations with regard to the budget of a pilot action. According to our experience, the budget of a pilot action should be between 40,000 and 120,000 euro. And so yes, like with regards to the kind of expenses that could be funded, like yeah, those are the cost categories. So just remind that in case the pilot action is in the project, then also the budget line, the cost category, infrastructure and works will be available. And then with regards to the specific actions, I give the floor to Verena.
Excellent. Verena, I'll let you add. We do have another question about pilots, so feel free to comment, but we're going to continue with pilots also after this.
Yes, maybe, yeah, and like also a general reminder here, remember that the pilot actions in Interreg Europe, it's let's say really it's dedicated to small scale testing on the ground. So also the overall budget, there's a limit to the budget for pilot action. I think, Vincenzo, correct me if I'm wrong, I think it's up to 120,000 euros, is that right? So that's the maximum budget for pilot action, meaning that, yeah, like the overall scope is well, I mean, that's quite a lot of budget already, but it's limited if you compare to, let's say, heavy investment programs that you may be also familiar with. So what actions are funded in the example to establish energy communities? Yeah, I think it could be the setup of the community. So probably that's can be done with rather low cost. So if it's about, you know, appointing someone that runs the community, running some, let's say, setup meetings, maybe you need an online tool or something. I mean, it depends very much on the exact activities behind. So again, if you have a, let's say, specific idea that is already a little bit advanced, feel free to submit it and they ask for feedback, and we can have a look together into the details. It's difficult to advise you right now with this say very generic information only. Martina, yeah.
All right, excellent. As I said, we're staying with the pilot actions because there are a couple of other questions as well. The next one comes from Esther. She is wondering if it's better for pilots to be implemented in different partner countries, or what happens if a pilot takes place in only one country or a region. So can you just say a little bit about the implementation of the pilots?
I stated in the manual, it's better that pilot is implemented in different partner countries. Well, I mean, like indeed, there's the option in Interreg Europe in the new program to run pilots. I mean, jointly in different regions and different countries, and I think that's a really interesting option. Is it better or not? It depends very much, again, on what you want to do, the nature of the pilot, if it's needed, if it's relevant. Difficult to answer right now. What happens if the pilot just takes place in one country region? Well, that's again, like, it depends, like on the whole setup. You will have to describe in the application form what you want to do, which are the partner countries that are, the partner regions that are involved in the pilot. Yeah, like keep in mind that there's, let's say, in the application form, you will always have to describe the role of all the partners in this specific pilot action. So maybe if you have questions on this, Esther, again, feel free to contact us and submit your project idea.
Great. A continuation question, or kind of looking at the same pilot action issue from a slightly different perspective, an anonymous question. Is it mandatory to have a pilot action in each partner country, or can they be cross-border? Can you involve 2 or 3 partners in the same pilot?
Yeah, okay, sorry. Thanks for this question, also interesting. So first of all, it's not mandatory at all to have pilot actions. So pilot actions are an option in the program. It's, let's say, maybe kind of the cherry on the cake, because it allows you to bring the exchange of experience and the learning to the next step, to the next level, and to start some test implementation. But the core purpose or the core aim of the projects, again, is the exchange of experience. So pilot actions are not mandatory at all. The testing of the pilot action always takes place in one specific region. But then, like again, the other partners are involved in the sense that they accompany, they take part in the learning. That you also, like the testing partner, would share the lessons learned with the other project partners. So in this sense, there's always the other partners are always involved in the pilot, and in specific cases, the testing can also be carried out in in more than one region. But this is, as I mentioned earlier, something you will describe in the application form. And also to the author of these questions, if you have a project idea, feel free to contact us and we look into the details together.
All right, great. I want to pick up Sam's question on the list, because keeping in mind that we do have half of the people here today who are thinking about applying for Interreg Europe for the very first time, and I think we need to kind of be a little bit careful before going into too much detail. Just a quick recap. We know when the first projects might be approved. They might be starting next year and so, but what about the second call? If you don't have the time to get ready for this one, if you don't submit your application, when is the second one coming?
Yes, so the good news is there will be a second call, that's for sure. We don't know exactly yet when it will start, but we guess or we assume it will be first semester of 2023.
Right. 23, it's coming. Before going into more questions, staying on this one a little bit, first call, second call, first one open, second one coming. I would be very keen to know, especially considering that we've spent more than half an hour now talking about your questions and providing some additional info. How do you feel? We have a new poll, another one, so I would like to get some inputs from you. Let's launch the poll, because I would like to know if you're planning to submit a proposal. How ready are you? Are you gonna submit one for this call? Very likely, maybe, not very likely, or really not sure yet? How are you feeling? Are you going to wait for the second one or try to make it for the first one? Give us a quick input on that. I also do want to remind you that we are being recorded. You will have access to this session afterwards. We still have about 12 questions to go through and about 20 minutes to do so. If we don't quite make it through them in the next 20 minutes, we might go a bit over time and continue also a little bit after 11. But if you can't stay with us for the entire time, we are going to share the recording afterwards. Thank you for the inputs in the poll. I think we can close it now and have a look at how it's looking. Half of the people here today are going to very likely submit an application during this call. 22% somewhat likely, so it looks like we are going to see some applications, definitely. 14% not very likely, and 16% not sure yet, so about 30% still hesitating for one or another reason. If there is a question that is keeping you from applying, today is a good day to post it, so do share that in the chat, and let's see if we can help you to figure out if you're going to apply. That being said, and knowing that we still have some questions to go through, let's continue. The next one on the list is an anonymous question about how to organize your activities in a project. Any preference? In-person meetings, how many of them? How should you organize this during the project? I don't know if Veran, maybe you want to start and take this one.
Yeah, maybe I can start, and I'm sure Vincenzo may have also to say something here. So you organize the exchange of experience as you want, in the sense that it needs to fit to your needs, to the needs of your partners, to the topics, the number of the number of partners involved, the number of partner regions. So these are probably factors that play in. Yeah, so the exchange experience phase one of the project is defined for 3 years. Yeah, you should make, let's say, best use of the time. You can mix also in person and virtual meetings. So it's true that now with the past 2 years, we all have a lot of experience in online meetings. And what we actually saw is from the running projects from the previous program, that they made quite some interesting and positive experience also with online meetings. So it's really up to you to see what kind of activities fit your needs, how you want to organize them. I think what matters here is that they are, let's say, relevant, feasible, and also proportionate in terms of budget. But maybe Vincenzo, you want to take the floor.
Well, yes, I mean, not much to add, like, to be honest, like, because, like, basically, yes, there is not a limit for in-person meetings that are allowed during the implementation of the project, and simply the budget should be planned accordingly. And maybe something that we can say here might be related to the travel and accommodation flat rate. We have introduced a flat rate for the travel and accommodation cost, and here the general recommendation of the program, we strongly invite you, like, to go for this flat rate, unless I mean, for peripheral region and outermost region, like, you need to go for real cost. And so yes, the invitation would be, like, to also to go back to in-person meetings, even if we know that you have been experiencing, like, you've been practicing in online meeting by now, since the last 2 years of pandemic, like, were forcing us to do so.
Excellent. Moving on to the next one. This one maybe crosses again a little bit more into the activity side versus the application stage. Denitsa is asking, what happens if a policy instrument gets changed by the authority in the time of the project? For example, if its scope is narrowed down or some planned calls are cancelled, what kind of flexibility is there? Verena, would you have a comment on this?
Yes, thanks, Denitsa, for the question. I mean, yeah, from our experience, this happens not very often. Like, usually the policy instrument that you pick, it's a policy instrument that is meant to run, like, for the lifetime of the project at least. And usually once the policy instrument is set up and approved, they are quite stable. So we rarely face cases where the policy instrument suddenly was narrowed down. But of course, there can be extreme cases where it happens. Sometimes we see also that elections in a region can lead to, let's say, maybe change of priorities or so. So this can happen. And if it happens, you will explain it to us. You will be able to justify, and in this case, you will be able to change the policy instrument that you address during the lifetime of the project. At the end of the day, I mean, what matters most for us is that we really see that the lessons learned from the exchange of experience, that they are kind of maintained, meaning that they are embedded in a policy instrument in your region to ensure that there's a sustainable change of situation in your territory. So whatever challenge you addressed in the beginning, we want to see, or like ideally we see that this challenge was addressed in a sustainable way, meaning that the policy instrument, or one of the policy instrument that is, let's say, governing or covering this aspect is improved, so that the situation on the ground will also be improved. I hope it answers the question.
All right. Thank you for that. I do see that the consortium structure and the partnership structure is raising a lot of questions, so we're going to go back to that for a little while. Anna is asking still about who should be involved. So should there be 50% of policymakers or one policymaker, or could you just clarify this once more, Verena?
Yes, welcome back, Anna. Yes, so there is some requirements for the composition of the partnership, and one of the requirements is that at least for half of the policy instruments addressed, the policy responsible authority needs to be involved as partner. So basically what you need to see, how many policy instruments do you have, and like, for instance, let's say you have 7 policy instruments in your project, then you need to have at least for 4 out of the 7s, you need to have the policy responsible authority directly involved as a partner. So this is mandatory, meaning that for the remaining policy instrument, if the policy responsible authority is not a partner, they will be involved in the project, let's say, more passively or more indirectly through as a associated policy authority. So Anna, I hope this is clearer to you now. You can read also again in the program manual, or contact us again to further discuss this question.
Excellent. And we do have more Q&As coming up as well. So if we don't cover all the questions today, or if you still have questions after today, you can come back to those. We'll mention the dates a little bit later today. One more question. This one is an anonymous one. Is there a list of preferred policies covered in a project on a regional level, like in previous years? So what kind of policies are eligible? We know that we need to have the policy authorities involved, but what policies to choose?
Okay, I'm not quite sure to understand what the person refers to. when they, like, I'm not sure we had a list of preferred policies in the previous years. Maybe to answer this question, first of all, remember that the notion of policy instrument is, let's say, quite broad. So a policy instrument is a document, or can be a law, or strategy, or something, or a funding program that is set up by a policy, by a public authority, with the aim to improve a certain aspect on the ground, or to govern a certain aspect in the territory. So it's a public intervention. It's a means of public intervention. So basically, we don't have a list of all the policy instruments out there in Europe, because this list is, yeah, could be really, really long and very difficult to get, I guess. We do have a list of the, sorry, excuse me. We do have a list of the investment for jobs and growth programs. I mentioned it earlier. You can check it out on the website. It's still being updated, but some information is already there. Yeah, so it's up to you to pick the policy instrument that is most relevant for you and your region and your project. If you have a doubt, you can check with us, or you can also get in touch with the national point of contact of your country.
Yes, indeed. And we will share a link to our page where you will find all those contact points in different countries. So there is a person that you can contact in addition to us here at the Joint Secretariat to help you out if ever you have any doubts. Good. We seem to be staying on the same topic. There's a lot of questions about policies and authorities and partners. Another anonymous question. Is it correct that non-policy authority can participate only as assigned by associate policy authority through a public procurement procedure, or as an advisory partner?
All right. Okay. Let me read again the question. Sorry. There might be some confusion, I think, with the different wordings we use. Is it correct that non-policy authority can participate only as assigned? So if you represent an organization, let's say maybe an energy agency in your region, so you will probably not be considered as policy authority or policy responsible authority, because you're not, you are kind of executing the policy, but you are not making the decisions. The decision-making body, the public authority, is maybe your region, let's say the regional authority. So you are the energy agency. You are, in this respect, you are the non-policy authority, if you want to use this word. You can take part in the project as a partner. However, you would need either to have the regional authority together with you as a second partner on the same policy instrument, or else the regional authority would join as an associated policy authority, meaning that they are mentioned in the application form. They sign the declaration to, let's say, commit to the project, but they don't have an own budget in the project, and they have, let's say, not the same obligations in the project as you, as energy agency that is a full partner in the project. If you want to externalize certain tasks through procurement procedures, that's another thing. In this case, you have to follow the public procurement rules.
Exactly. Maybe I can step in here, Verena. I don't know,
yes.
like if you want to continue later on, because maybe here there is also some confusion between the role of an external provider in the project and the role of an advisory partner. So an advisory partner is fully involved in the project because either they have an interest in the topic and they can provide some support in some transversal task, be it communication, or maybe because they are expert in the topic addressed by the project, and so they are actually fully involved in the project. They have a direct interest in the project, while an external expert is rather might be an external company that is contracted by one of the partners to carry out a more specific task. And in that case, when you are when a partner is contracting an external expert, then in that case you have to go through the regular procurement procedure that apply in such case. And maybe also in this regard, it's important to say that the program doesn't have specific rules on public procedure as such, specific, let's say, requirements. So the general reminder here is that there is 3 levels of rules, let's say, that you must check to see which rules apply to your case and to the contract that you want to stipulate with an external company. So you have the EU level, of course, the national level, and then also an institutional level. So at the level of your own institution and organization, there might be also some rules related to public procurement procedure in order to contract an external company to carry out a specific task within the project. For example, the territorial analysis that we were mentioning before earlier in one of the first questions. This is just to specify a bit more about the difference of the role between an advisory partner and an external supplier.
Yes, thanks, Vincenzo. And maybe also still to add on this. So of course, when you want to do externalize certain tasks and you run a public procurement with the project budget, obviously this can only be done by the project partner. So it cannot be done by an associated policy authority because this organization does not have a budget in the framework of the project. I think I now understand, let's say, the sense of the question a little better. So if you're an organization that is maybe you're a research center and you have specific knowledge in the topic of the project, or you are maybe a federation, a pan-European federation in a specific thematic area, then you may want to act as an advisory partner. But yeah, so the advisory partner, I mentioned already a little bit earlier, it acts or it brings a certain expertise to the whole consortium. And this is very important to keep in mind. So the advisory partner does not represent a territory, but they bring expertise to the entire consortium. And also the advisory partner, as a consequence, they do not address a policy instrument at all. So that's maybe also important here to understand. So whoever asked this question, I hope it's answered now. If not, feel free to contact us again.
All right, thank you both. We do indeed need to clarify some of the terms here and there. I see that we are getting very close to 11. I said when we started that we would go on for about an hour and cover your questions. We're now just about to hit that mark. Don't worry, we have 10 questions left. We're going to cover all of those, which means that we are going to go a little bit over time. If you cannot stay with us for the whole time, we will record it. A recording will be available. I also just want to mention that this is the second Q&A that we're hosting. The first one is already available. This one will be available, and we're doing 2 more in May. So there will be another Q&A on the 6th of May and a Q&A also on the 20th of May at the same time as this one. So starting at 10 Central European Summer Time. So you can join those if you want to get more information and cannot stay with us here today. We also have a week of lead applicant webinars coming up next week. In fact, we'll share a link to that in the chat. Have a look at that. We are doing 4 different sessions. We'll take you through how to set up your partnership, how to develop your methodology, how to prepare your budget and manage your project finances, and how to work on your project communication. 4 days, 4 different sessions, all interrelated to get you ready with your application. Link to those in the chat. Have a look at that. We will continue with the questions, but I just want to launch a poll because I think some of you might have to leave once we hit 11 o'clock. So please give us some feedback on this session. Let us know what you thought about it. We'll leave that running on the side as we continue to address more of your questions. So just let us know if this met your expectations, if it was useful for you. Give us a little bit of feedback, and make use of Slido to share more of your questions. There's 10 right now. We'll go through all of those, but you still have time to post a few more if you want to. Just a quick note, I saw that Teresa was asking if there is a link to the previous recording and to this one. So we'll just share a link to the previous Q&A in the chat, and the link to this one is actually the same one as the one you used to register for this session. So on our website, you will find a page for webinar held today on the 22nd of April, and you will find the recording there in the next couple of days once we finish. So yes, let's continue with the questions. Give us some feedback, send us more of your questions, and let's work our way through them. Talking about the clarifications of certain concepts and terminology that we use. Is a municipality, can it be considered as a local authority? And would a municipal plan or strategy under development be considered as a policy instrument? But maybe just a quick response to this.
Yes, of course. I mean, for sure, a municipality can be considered as a local authority. That's the very definition, I would say, even of a local authority. So yes. Can a municipal plan or strategy that is still under development be eligible as a policy instrument? I'd rather say no, simply because we focus on the, let's say, existing policy instruments. So maybe give a careful look, careful thinking if there's another policy instrument that you can address. But again, you can also, let's say, maybe if you need further advice here, feel free to contact us. And the Ask for Feedback service, and we'll give a look into the details of your case.
Excellent, great. Before we take the next question, I saw that Anna had a question in the chat. She was asking if there is a general presentation of the program that we could share. There is indeed information available about the program on our website, some very useful links. We have the recordings from Europe Let's Cooperate, where we talk more about Interreg Europe and how it is as a program. So we'll share those links in the chat. Have a look at those, Anna. And actually, Europe Let's Cooperate, the recording from this year's session, as well as the one from 2021 in November, might be useful, because there we also talk about the program as a whole and what the 2021-2027 version of Interreg Europe looks like. So those will be there. Useful links in the chat. Moving on to the next question, again, an anonymous one. Is there any indication of how many policy instruments would need to be addressed in a project? Or maybe you have an example of outcomes or results at the end of the project. Or maybe you can say something about the monitoring activities that might be recommended. So it's actually 3 questions in one. And Verena, maybe I'll let you start, and then Vincenzo, you chip in if there's anything you want to add.
Yes, thanks. Indeed, it's 3 different questions, let's say. The first, an indication how many policy instruments need to be addressed. Not really. There is indications about the size of partnerships. So there's a minimum, I think, of, if I'm not mistaken, 3 partners, but there's also a criterion about the geographical coverage. So I guess most likely you will need at least 4 partners in your project from different regions. So probably then you will also have 4 different policy instruments. And exactly I think the recommendation that we have in the program manual for the size of the partnership is between 5 to 8 regions represented. So there is no maximum number of partners. There's no maximum number of policy instruments. Yeah, but I think between 5 to 8 seems reasonable to me. Please give us some examples of good outcomes results at the end of the project. We have plenty. You can simply check out the website, the program website, where we have a compilation of some let's say interesting results that we showcase, that we disseminate. That there's I think a nice brochure also available. And you can also browse through the website of the different projects that are still running or that are already completed to see what kind of results they achieve. What monitoring activities are recommended? Not quite sure to understand the question. If this is a question related to phase 2, to the monitoring of the let's say progress you made with the policy changes, to the implementation of the policy changes, a little bit up to, I think it's up to you. Like it can be, let's say, rather low key. You will simply follow up with the partners regularly, report on the progress report. Yes, I'm not sure of what else to answer here. If you have more specific question, please feel free to contact again.
I think there's already plenty of info. Vincenzo, anything you want to add from your perspective, or should we continue with the next one?
We can
All right.
move to the next question.
Perfect. Then we're taking the next one, staying a little bit with who should do what and how things work. Policy responsible body. Is that someone whose role for the upcoming programming period is still not confirmed? If there's someone whose role is not confirmed yet, can they still be eligible? How do we look at policy responsible bodies and who counts as one?
Yeah, I guess this question refers most likely to the investment of jobs and growth program. So if you're not quite sure yet about the role of the of your organization, I'd be very careful and double check maybe with your national point of contact. Yeah, because we need to be sure that, let's say, what like maybe the investment for jobs and growth program in your region is still under development, and it's not yet clear, let's say, who's exactly doing what, who's the managing authority. So in this case, it's a bit tricky, and we would advise you to double check with your national point of contact.
Great. Then another one, kind of just a short clarification, a question from Esther. How many specific objectives can be included in a project application?
One. Yes. So I mean, we cover a lot of policy objectives in the new program. But for each project, we really need to see exactly what is the topic, what is the specific, and under which specific objective it fits. So you will have to indicate this in the application form as well, and you can only select one. And the reasoning behind is that we really want to see that the project, how to say, like, addresses one topic or one challenge that is shared among the partner regions. So if that's not the case, then your project is probably too broad. The topic is not precisely enough defined, and yeah, that will be very problematic in the project assessment. So it's really important that you focus on one aspect and one topic, that you can demonstrate that this is of relevance for all the partners in your consortium, or all the partner regions.
Excellent. Thank you, Verena. So plenty of options, but you do have some choices to make as well in the process. Let's take the question from Susanna. This is more of a perhaps clarification. So if the Regional Development Fund of a region would be the partner attending on behalf of that region, for example, well, hold on. So I assume that the Regional Development Fund of region XX would not be considered as the authority in charge of the policy instrument, even if the fund is basically representing the authority. Could we maybe clarify this?
Yeah, so Susanna, you're also referring to the ERDF programs, the investment of jobs and growth programs. If you have doubt about, let's say, who is the managing authority or the responsible authority for the ERDF program or the investment of jobs and program in your region, I would invite you to check the overview table that we have on our website. So there's it's an Excel file, and you have sheets for each country, and you can also get in touch with the national point of contact in your country to see what are the policy instruments available, and who are let's say, for the investment of jobs and growth programs, and who are the responsible authorities for those. Yes, I hope it helps.
Okay, thank you. Susanna, feel free to ask if you want further clarifications. We are getting closer to the end of the list. There's about 6 more questions to go, so let's work our way through them. Next one, anonymous question again. Although participation of more than one partner from the same country is not recommended, would the involvement of a region and a province from different regions in a large country be possible? So going back a little bit into who can be involved and how to structure your partnership. Verena.
Yes, you nailed it. It's not recommended, but it doesn't mean it's impossible. Meaning that if you want to do it, you will have to really clearly justify the need for this. I think, yeah, if it's a large country, if it's justified, it could be possible for us. Like, why is it not recommended? Simply because we want to see that Interreg Europe, we cover a very broad area. We cover the whole of Europe, and also Norway and Switzerland. And well, we expect the projects to make use of this, let's say, very wide geographical coverage. Now, if you say, well, we want to exchange experience with regions in our own country, we assume that you could do it also with other means. So you probably would not necessarily need Interreg Europe to do so. So this is why why it's not recommended. Now, if you want to do it, if you can justify it, okay, but I think in this case we would also see that still there's a broad, let's say, geographical coverage. So I would see that only. I mean, I would be even more careful if you have a small consortium. So if you have plenty of other partners from other EU regions and countries, that could be maybe more interesting. But yeah, I would be careful with this. So maybe you also want to double check this your specific case with us individually, but I would be careful here. And maybe also, yeah, one point to add here is also in general in the consortium, what's also important is to mix the more and the less developed regions in terms of economic development. That's also, yeah, a criterion we look at in the assessment.
Yes, so it does take a little bit of work to find a balanced and a good partnership. Okay, staying with the public authorities, and this one we kind of covered already, but just to remind our participants, is it mandatory to have a public authority from each country involved for each of the policy instruments addressed in a project?
Yeah, I think that would be the ideal case. However, the requirement is that for at least half of the policy instruments addressed within the project, you need to have the responsible authority involved as partner. So there's no rules in terms of public authorities per country. The only rule, and I think, I mean, it's really it should be clear if you understand it well, that for half of the policy instruments addressed, you need to have the the policy authority involved as partner. If you comply with this rule, then you should not worry about the rest.
All right, there we go. That's covered. You see the end of the list coming, but we still have 4 more to go. So let's tackle these. And if there is any burning question that you still want to add, now is the time to put that in Slido, because once we get to the end of the list, we will close this session. All right, anonymous question. If in doubt, it is the partner state that confirms the role of a partner as a policy responsible authority. Is the decision of the partner state final? Can the JS, the Joint Secretariat, decide otherwise during the eligibility checks? Or do we take the word of the partner state on this one?
We take the word, like it's up to the partner states to confirm or not the role of a specific organization in relation to specific policy instrument. And also, for instance, for the legal status, this is really the responsibility of the partner state, and the JS cannot decide, let's say, otherwise.
Excellent. That is very clear. 3 more questions to go. How shall we understand the statement that the project objectives should be achieved by the end of the core phase within the first 3 project years? So are all the projects starting on the 1st of January, or how does the counting go in this way?
So the start date will be the same for all the projects approved on the first call. And I said it earlier, for now we plan with January 2023. Yeah, the duration of the project is also fixed. It will be 3 years for the phase 1, for the core phase, exchange of experience, and then there's 1 more year follow up on the lessons learned and the changes achieved. Yes, I hope this answers the question, because I'm not quite sure if what's behind your first question. How shall we understand the statement? Project objectives should be achieved by the end of the core phase. Yeah, so it's true that there's also, let's say, a requirement or the expectation that the project partners reach a certain policy, like improvement, a policy change, by the end of this core phase. And if it's not the case, then they still have 1 more year to do so. But in this situation, then they will have to draw up an action plan at the end of the core phase, where they will explain the steps to be taken to achieve a policy change by the end of the project. So by the end of the monitoring phase at the regulators.
All right, thank you, Verena. We're going to the second of last questions. Can the RRF plan be be an investment for growth and for jobs and growth program. And in this case, I think the RRF stands for the Recovery and Resilience Facility.
Yes, thanks for this. In my understanding, it's not the case. Because as I said earlier, I think it's only the programs funded through ERDF, ESF, Cohesion Fund, and Just Transition Fund.
All right, simple answer there, which brings us to our final question today, unless somebody is quick enough to post an additional one. Last anonymous question of the day. Many ERDF programs are set already. So how should a region select an investment for jobs and growth program?
Yeah, I mean, the starting point to develop your project is always to understand what is the challenge you want to address in your region, what is the situation you want to change, and then you see what is the policy instrument that covers this situation, or what is the policy instrument that could be improved to make a change to the situation. And then it's up to you to decide to pick the most relevant policy instrument. If it's the ERDF program, if you also you want to, let's say, maybe make use of the ERDF funds, then you can select the ERDF program. But you're also free to select another type of policy instrument. Yeah, you may be familiar, you may have heard about it, that there's another requirement in the program, is that among all the policy instruments addressed in the project, one policy instrument needs to be the ERDF program, or the Investment for Jobs and Growth program, more precisely, meaning that all the other policy instrument can be non-investment for jobs and growth, or can be other types of policy instrument. So you're quite flexible, let's say, in the choice of the policy instrument for your region. Just make sure that at the end, on project level, you meet the requirement that at least one partner region needs to address an Investment for Jobs and Growth program.
All right, thank you very much, Verena. Thank you very much, Vincenzo. That brings us to the end of our Q&A today. Some very final notes to share with all of our participants. I'm very happy, first of all, to see that 55 of you stayed until the very end. And I'm also very happy to see that you were so active with your questions. So thank you very, very much for those. We did share a lot of links in the chat. So take a quick scroll at the chat before leaving. You will find all these resources, as well as the recording of this Q&A, on our website. On the website, you find many other useful tools as well. As we've mentioned today, there is a tool that you can use to test your project idea's relevance. There's an online self-assessment tool that you can just click through. It will tell you if you're on the right track or not. If you feel that you need some additional inspiration, you can also go through some of the project ideas that other people have shared and submitted, or you can share your own project idea and use the online tools on our website to find partners and link with other people and institutions all across Europe. So indeed, these tools can be very helpful if you're still looking for partners, or maybe looking for a project to join. Once you advance with your project idea, you can also contact us for feedback. We will go through it and give you some tailored feedback on how it is looking. But please note that you can only do it once during the application process. So you do want to work on the idea before you take it to us for feedback. And the call is open until the 31st of May. The application is online in our portal that we've mentioned several times today. You'll have access to the portal with the same login and access that you use for our website. So once you've used all of these tools, you can just head over to the portal and complete your application there. Links are on the screen. We'll put them on the chat as well, so you'll find all those tools there. And as what I've said, we do have 2 more Q&As coming up. In addition to today's session and the one that we held last week, we have 2 more coming up in May, on the 6th of May and on the 20th of May. Registration happens through our website. You'll find the links in the chat, so you're very welcome to come back. If you have more questions, we will go through them during those online sessions. And maybe even more importantly, next week is our lead Lead Applicant Webinar Week. As we've mentioned today, this is a week when we take you through all the necessary steps to prepare your project. So we have a dedicated session on building a partnership, designing your project methodology, working on your budget and finances, and finally getting ready to take care of your project communication. All of these webinars start at 10 a.m. Central European Time from Monday to Thursday. Registration through our website. You'll find the link in the chat. We hope to see you there next week. They've been very, very popular, but we still have room for a few more. So if you need tips to prepare your application, feel free to join us there. And this finally brings us to the end of today's Q&A. Thank you for joining. Thank you for participating. If you haven't given us feedback yet, the poll is still running, so go ahead and give us some feedback on how it was today. Were your questions answered? Was there maybe something else you were missing? Any final comments, feel free to make use of the chat. We'll stay around for a couple more minutes. This is all from us. Thank you. Thank you, Verena. Thank you, Vincenzo. Thank you, Petra. Thank you, Josephine. Thank you for everyone who helped us behind the scenes. Thank you for participating. We look forward to seeing your project applications. Good luck for the preparation of your projects.
Thanks, Mia, for the moderation. And thanks, everyone. Have a nice day.
Thanks a lot.